Hello, here's Kramer's Corner with a special edition of Technical Update on US Semiconductors. And today we will start with Nvidia, and I'll go through a list of them, about 8-10 of them, and they will all be listed in market cap order. Nvidia will start with that. Most traded, biggest, one of the biggest companies in the world, obviously. After forming this bearish engulfing here a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, actually, on a Friday, we had this massive sell-off, bearish engulfing, top and reversal pattern. It indicated at least a correction. The magnitude of the correction we didn't know at that time, but we had a support around 115.82. We got almost down there. We actually got down to the 38.2 retracement, 115.87. Interesting thing was that there was no divergence on the RSI, so RSI values were matching or mirroring the higher levels in price level on Nvidia, indicating that we were likely to see higher levels after a correction. And now it's turned around, and we saw Wednesday, market was closed yesterday, we saw Wednesday a strong move that could indicate that Nvidia will be back in bullish trends. RSI back above 60, so that is indicating what we could see. Also on the weekly, let's have a look at that. We saw a very strong uptick in volume during the sell-off, and let's see that this week seems a little bit lower, but it was also closed yesterday on a half day Wednesday, so we can't really count on that. If we then zooming in on a daily one again, if we take out the 61.8 retracement 132.11, I think we'll see a test of the previous peak, and if we close above 140.76, I think we'll see Nvidia pushing towards 150, 160 in coming weeks, and I added these Fibonacci projections. However, if it slides back and closes below 115.80, well, then I think we'll see a sell-off down to this area here, 106, 101, possibly testing the gap area down here. But for now, it looks like it is resuming uptrend and maybe even higher highs. Taiwan Semiconductor almost close to cancel it. We had a shooting star here, we had a bearish engulfing here, but it seems very close to canceling both. And if it does, meaning it closes above 184.86, well, then there is more upside potential, and it could potentially lead to 200 a level here in coming weeks. However, if it takes out 167, well, then we could see a sell-off down to 160 support, but maybe even down to around the 148, 150 area levels there. We can see here on the weekly it's starting to heat up also. That there has been very good uptick in volume. On the daily chart, RSI is having a little bit of a building up divergence, but let's see, it looks fairly strong, this trend. Broadcom, and let's zoom in on it. It was actually quite interesting sell-off down below the upper part of the gap area. That's massive gap area. There was a little gap here too, so we can actually count on it. But from here to there was a massive gap. Actually tried to close it, but buyers came in, and in the middle of the gap has it back above the 1652.5 upper part of the gap area. Very close to the 61.8 retracement at 1741.75, and it is resuming uptrend. Positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating we are likely to see higher levels towards 2,000, possibly higher. If it suddenly slides back and takes out 1564, well, then we could see a sell-off down to 1495, where it will close the gap, and possibly also down all the way to 1438. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, a different story really, in forming this symmetrical like triangle pattern really, but I would say if it breaks out to the bearish side, 153.34, 153 here, then we will see a sell-off down to 140, possibly lower. If it takes out the upper falling trend line, which is not the strongest one because they only got 2 points, and there's a lot of white space here. I would like to have more, so it's I would call it merely a guideline. I want to see it breaking above the falling trend line, above the 100 moving average, and then it can test the resistance at 174.55. If it does close above that, well, then there is further upside potential towards previous peaks around 187, possibly higher, and we will also get the RSI back above 60. We need to get it back above 60 for upside confirmation. Weekly chart, we can see here it's really struggling a little bit, but the RSI on the weekly is in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence, so if we also see an uptick here and it takes out the 174.55, well, then there should be further upside potential. Qualcomm took out a minor support, and let's just draw that trend line, but it seems like buyers are coming back in. There was a minor support here. We did actually have a little bit stronger support down here. Let me just show you around this level here, 194.60. And why is that a support? Well, this is where we had a little bit of sideways stepping, so we used that as a support. If it can close the gap up, we had a little bit of gap up there and close above 211.76. Well, then expect higher levels. We actually had a very beautiful textbook top reversal pattern in the form of a doji evening or evening doji star pattern top and reversal, and if it takes out that to the upside 230.63, well, then it's cancelled, but it did follow very nicely. It was a nice formed one. There is divergence, as you can see here, on the RSI. Values were declining while the market moved higher, so it did indicate a correction. I would like to have it seen down below 40 on the RSI to kind of reset it, but if RSI moves back above 60, well, then expect higher levels on Qualcomm. You can see the gap here clearly on the daily, on the weekly chart. Applied Material, fairly strong. Start finding buyers again. Well, even before the support here around 225, very close to testing previous peaks, and RSI is supporting that it will take it out and push higher towards 260, and we can also apply Fibonacci projection to that to around 257, 262, 265, possibly higher in the coming weeks. So a fairly strong outlook for Applied Material. However, I have to mention that if it takes out 228.5, well, the lower rising trend line here could be tested. If it breaks back below that one, well, then we are down here around the 220, 210 area, where we have some strong support around 2.9. ARM Holdings. Not so much. Well, the correction wasn't big, and it did test the support at 149.90, dipping below a little bit and then bouncing, trying to get back down, but didn't. Positive RSI, no divergence on the RSI, so it seems like we're likely to push higher. There seems to be some resistance here just below the 786 retracement at 171 and a change. A break above that, and especially followed by a close. I would like to see a close above, but I believe will occur. So we are pushing towards 194.5, 200 level in coming days. But if it takes out 149.5, well, then we are looking at 135, 126 area. On the Micron technology, massive bearish engulfing actually throughout the previous days. Bullish trading, so that was a massive sell-off, dip down, and then try to get back above the closing price, but didn't at 144.19, and then got hit by another sell-off. So can it turn around now? We do have divergence on the RSI. I can see that the peaks here are declining, where the peaks on the peak value on the share price were rising. So there was some exhaustion indication. Key support at 121.35, around that level, could be tested, but if it can close above 144.20, well, then expect a new all-time high. Then I think it will cancel out this bearish engulfing candle there. On the weekly, divergence, so a little bit fragile, so I would like to have some confirmation. However, if one wishes to, and this is not a recommendation, as you can see, this is for educational purpose only, and this is about getting into an investment with the least amount of risk. That would be, okay, if I buy here around current levels, then my stop will be this low here, which is 127.27, and I will put it a little bit lower, so we could actually dip down, but 121.30 is also support. Intel, that used to be the big leader in semiconductors, has been really struggling lately, forming at kind of a symmetrical triangle, but this sideways range trading here, 29.85, 29.85. It needs, if it breaks below that, well, then expect lower levels towards $20. Could trade up to around 32 and a quarter, maybe a little bit higher, where there's some strong resistance in the form of this gap area here. That would be a struggle for Intel to push higher. Still negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence or very minor divergence. It needs to get back up 64, further upside potential. Analog devices, ADI, let's reset that. Its correction was more or less sideways, strong support at 224.75, which is the upper part of the gap area here. If it does close below 217.48, well, then it has closed this gap, and then it will spell some trouble for analog devices. But for now, it seems fairly strong, and I think it will trade higher in coming days and weeks. As you can see here, no divergence on the RSI, testing its falling trend line. If it breaks above that and does also close above a 60 threshold, expect new higher highs. But if it takes out the low here at 223.90, that would be my stuff if I was invested. We actually had a bullish engulfing here, so it seems like we have found a bottom, but that would be my stop. If it takes out that, then I think we'll try to close the gap. Finally, on the Supermicro computer, trading in this like a range trading, but actually more like an ascending triangle where you have the flat upper line and you're a rising trend line here. There is positive sentiment on the RSI. It actually did close above 60 here, meaning we are in a positive sentiment, but it is struggling. It really needs to get back above the cloud and back above the 100 moving average. But then we have some strong resistance at 1020. That can be a little bit of a struggle for Supermicro computer to break above. But if it does, well, then it's looking towards 1200 again. If it takes out the 773.80 level here and the lower rising trend line, well, then we're looking at 700, 664 support area. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and weekend when you get to there, and happy trading.